alright. The world is going through a sunshine phase. Is it alright? Yes, sir. See the people looking out for lookers. You can be so rich and you can be so poor. You're gonna see the sunshine time. Oh yeah, man. Look at the lookers and see what they're doing. Sunshine face, sunshine face, sunshine face, sunshine face. Oh yes. Take what you want, take what you got. Let me have it. Oh, you're gonna have it all night. And you're gonna see. Oh, when the sunshine fades. Take it away, boy. Sunshine, sunshine.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to Lieutenant Commander J.R. Galpohkpa Chesson Talk Show. Today is September the 3rd. We woke up this morning looking forward to another day. What will this day bring? We still don't know. But let's reflect on our plight from yesterday. Let me put up my topics for this morning. And they are news of election ballots being distributed by CDC. 2, press conference by CPP on December 8th, 2020 elections. And finally, what should Liberians expect from CPP, CDC, and Liberian people? That was my third point. I didn't put number 3 there. But anyway, let's start with my lesson this morning. First of all, I must again express my support for the light Darius Dillon. And we must remain conscious of the fact that the stealing must stop. The lawlessness must stop. Liberia cannot continue to go through our leaders continually being the lawless people within our society. This has to change. This has to give us the opportunity as a nation and as a people to rise up from the trenches, from the ghettos, and stand firm upon our Constitution and laws that empowers us, not only as a people, but as individuals with plights of our own. We can't continue this thing. Now there's news all over of the CDC taking ballots to their party headquarters in Bong County, taking ballots to the headquarters in Bumming County, and they got ballots in Masorado County. Nobody has authorized the printing of ballots. None of the parties have sat to agree on what the ballots will look like. So how are these ballots coming into the country that are not supposed to be printed? How are these ballots coming in the country that's supposed to be used on December 8th for our national election coming into the country at night when the strip of the airfield is dark and people go in there to meet the plane and take the ballots, the unauthorized ballots, to Monrovia? We have lived under stealing all our lives. We have lived under national rogues and have cried time and time again all our lives. When will the plight of the Liberian people change? When will we know that our constitution and laws are the foundation for peace and stability in our country? When will the Liberian people come to the realization that our leaders are our servants and not our masters? And as such, they have an obligation and a duty to abide by the Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Liberia. And as patriots of this great nation of ours, as patriots, loyalists, and citizens of this great heritage that we have been granted, we got to rise as men and women. We got to rise above our tribalism. We got to rise above our tribal sects and religious and beliefs and principles and embrace nationhood. Embrace the Republic of Liberia. Embrace nationalism and preserve the sovereignty that God has blessed us with. And we can only do this as a diverse society of different ethnic groups and tribal groups. We can accomplish this only upon our constitutional laws and knowing that we are our own masters. We set the pace of our own progress and advancement. And we We own Liberia and nobody else. So there are many challenges we are facing this December election, that we have to secure our national security, and that is our country. Secure our country. Liberians must stand up as patriots of Liberia, as owner of the national security, the safety, and the progress and advancement of one country and one nation of different tribes and different people under the laws of our nation. Liberians know about law and justice yet? Or are we just following people and just regurgitating what we hear? What is slammed in our ears? Is that who we are? I mean, our country is so gloomy and dark now. I got to wear my yellow jacket to bring some light in this darkness. Lux in tenebris. So how long are we going to tread? How long we're going to crawl? How long are we going to leave our destiny in the hands of idiots, criminals, warlords, and street bandits? How long will CDC rule over the Liberian people, rule over our lives, our livelihood, and our churches and religious institutions? How long will we let these slum lords and slum bandits rule the West African Republic of Liberia? There are legal means to remove this government. There are lawful means to remove this government. There are peaceful means to remove this government, although they will not let us peacefully exercise our right to demand that George Weah step down. That's our constitutional right. George Weah, the fucking preacher, the slum Koji, the slum Twe, the slum McGill, none of these slum lords can take our rights from us except we allow them to. And with all the stealing going on in our country, with all these rogues running around with impunity against our laws for their corruption, their rapes, their murders, and the Liberian people are left to bear all of this on our heads and for our children's future and for the futures of all Liberian children. How long? How long? How long will we remain ignorant and blind to standing up for what is ours, instead of letting other people tell us that they are fighting for us? When are we going to fight for ourselves? When are we going to take the destiny of our country and our people into our hands and say, no, 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 enough means enough? Y'all keep talking about enough means enough, and I can't see no action to really demonstrate that you're tired, that you're fed up, and you're not taking no more. How long? How long will the rogues and bandits destroy our electoral process? How long will the rogue and bandits overturn the will of the Liberian people? How long will the rogues and bandits decide the destiny, the progress, and advancement paces of our people and country? The time of the Liberian people is now. We know what is going on in the CDC government. The opposition parties know. They admitted it yesterday during the press conference that they knew, they heard all the things that go on about the ballots, all the shenanigans and attempts to derail the will of the Liberian people. They know it. All Liberians know is things cannot hide No matter how they cut the lights off on the airstrip to bring things in, no matter how they try to cover the borders and all those things with secret rags and things to stop cars from coming in so people can't recognize them. This is the West African Republic of Liberia. Only small things can hide in that country. And for things to hide, those people who hide them either got to be dead, scared as hell, or just can't talk. That's the only way secrets will not leak out in Liberia. And even if people scared, they will still say, they say, they say. They will not say, I saw it. They will say, they say. So where are we going, my people? We got rogues and thieves and untrustworthy people leading our country. Y'all listened to Bish Radio this morning. Y'all listened to it last night. Y'all heard Ashford Ghali using invectives and profanity like he never used before. That was the first time you hear Ghali talking like that. The golden voice of Liberia. The giant of the microphone. Ashford Ghali on Bish Radio. He went ballistic today, man. I think in less than 30 minutes, that man had used about 10 different invectives. Because of his frustration at the dishonesty, the lies, the deceitfulness of the leaders of the West African Republic of Liberia. He told us how he intended to visit each party campaign headquarters and show the people in the diaspora what these people are doing in the various campaign quarters. So Thomas Fala and his little bandits invited him to go visit their stronghold. And he decided to go yesterday, so he went there, saw them, and made a little small speech to say he coming to do all the parties. And that little small speech turned everything upside down. Now all the people got all Morovia that Ashford Ghali has endorsed Tamafala. And he came on this morning, last night, raging, man. I thought fire was going to fly out of Ghali muff. I was scared the man was going to bust a vein or a vessel, something on the stage. I was worried about Ghali, man, that his friend Fokino King. I said, Fokino, you have to cool this guy down, man. Cool him down. And he told him, he said, Ghali, slow down, brother. I know you're mad. And he did just that. He apologized to the viewers. And Ghali came back to himself. But this is what our country do to honest people. You cannot go to Liberia as an honest man and come out the same way. No. You will either join the parties of criminals or you will come out pulling your hair out of your head. Because you can't believe the kind of criminality that goes on among the officials of the government of Liberia. If you're not into corruption, you cannot deal with these people. They will drive you crazy with their stealing. So that ends my first point. Let's get into my second point. The press conference by the coalition of political parties, headed by Chairman Alexander Cummings, had a press conference at the headquarters yesterday, trying to bring to the attention of the Liberian people many of the things that are going on in the country that they are concerned about. And at last, they are willing to act on the discrepancies, dishonesties, lawlessness of the CTC regime. So this is where we go out. So yesterday, while they were talking, they brought up the situations of their concerns. And In reality, they had 8 or 9 concerns, which are listed down here, and we're going to go through them. Okay? But prior to that, well, I will get into that. That's my last topic. So let's get into, I was thinking about something else, but let's get into this issue about the press conference. There were a lot of groups at this press conference. It wasn't only for CPP. Also invited to that conference was the Rainbow Coalition, these groups that look about humanitarian and social issues in the country. You also had SOUP from the University of Liberia, the University of Liberian-based Student Unification Party. And you also have had other groups, other political parties and groups and social groups, social societal groups at CPP headquarters for this conference. So this conference was not only from a political party, but from a cross section of Liberians, Liberian social organization, Liberian religious organizations, and other concerned pressure and interest groups in the Liberian society. So they met all of that. They met in a coalition of concerned Liberians to address the issues of this December 8th, 2020 election. So one of the first things that this coalition called for is the resignation of all the members of the National Election Commission. They expressed their concern that the NEC is inexperienced, inept, incompetent, not adequately prepared for the job that they are assigned. So with this in mind, as people who are incompetent, as people who have no experience in the job they're doing, it creates havoc in the Liberian society. Because these people are not people of integrity. And even if they are, their lack of professionalism, their lack of knowledge of the job, that their lack of experience in dealing with the government and the political parties render them dangerous factors or elements in this process of our December 8th, 2020 election. Chairman Alexander Cummings also called for the boycott of the referendum. He spoke. He was the main spokesman for the party and for those groups present. He called for the boycott of the referendum. They have a problem with the election itself, but the problem is with the referendum. Because the referendum is not clear. The referendum is not clear. And it has not been cleared by the courts of Liberia. So Cummings called it an unconstitutional process. Voting for the election, for the referendum on December 8th, 2020 has been described as an unconstitutional process by this coalition of civil citizens of the political parties and other social interests and pressure groups. Okay? The third point they raised was that the election commission is in collusion with the ruling party, the CDC administration, to force the referendum on the Liberian people. Because there's no way when the court say no, the NEC can say yes. And the NEC not higher than the courts of Liberia. They don't have the power and authority of an independent branch to sideline the decision of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia. So the fourth point is just what I said in my first point. Ballots were printed without consultation or consensus of the political parties or with the political parties, because everything on the ballot has to have symbols agreed upon by the parties to represent each item on the ballot, so their constituents who may be illiterate, who cannot read and write, but can recognize the symbol of the party, will select the symbol of the party. So here we are, ballots being printed. None of the parties have sat to agree on what will be on the ballot. So the ballots are printed illegally. And because they are printed illegally without the participation of the parties in discussing and reviewing and agreeing to what will be on the ballots, these ballots are being flown into Liberia in the night without lights on the airstrip, so nobody can see the plane coming in. Those pilots from Ghana or Guinea or Kenya Airways must be highly professional for them to land in Liberia at night without lights. God jigga. We got some criminals. Okay? The fifth point, no public education. It is a mandate of the Constitution of Liberia that before we can have a referendum, the Liberian people must be educated. There must be a year's time of educating the Liberian people to ensure that they know and understand and appreciate what they are voting for, what the referendum is all about, what are the changes and effects and benefits of voting for this referendum to change the lives of the Liberian people and our destiny and the future of our country. Number six. Chairman Cummings claimed that this whole referendum process is a violation of law. It's a violation of law. Why? Because there are certain branches of our government under our constitution authorized to do certain things, and only they have the power to do it. Who's supposed to print the official gazette? That's supposed to come from the government of Liberia, not the National Election Commission. Now the government of Liberia has stated that this referendum cannot go on. It must be removed from the ballot. But to circumvent the laws of Liberia and the order of the independent branch of the judiciary of Liberia, the National Election Commission is going ahead to print its own gazette, announcing to the Liberian people when the election will take place, when the referendum will take place. They have no authority to print gazette. And the Gazette has to be up in a year before the election. So what is this shenanigans? What is this foolishness being carried on by the NEC? And the former judge of Liberia, Judge Scott, already stated that the NEC need to respect itself because they are inexperienced, they are incompetent, and they may be criminals violating the laws of Liberia. So if they can't respect themselves, they have to submit to the Liberian people. But let's go on. His 7th point was no inclusion to the referendum of Articles 93 and 50. And because there's no inclusion of these articles, it makes the referendum confusing. Because here you have Article 91 dealing with the random itself, telling the people that when the random referendum is passed by the legislature, we have 1 year from that passage of the law for the random referendum to be voted on. 92 says, no, that was 91, yeah, 92 says that it deals with the referendum itself, that the government must print a gazette, and that gazette must come out 1 year before the voting on the referendum. And there must be public education within that year period to enlighten the people on what they're voting for, on what the referendum is all about, what are its purposes, what does it hope to achieve. And these things were never done. Now they want to change the terms of the presidency. This is where the confusion comes in, the contradiction with the Constitution. Alec Cummings then complaining that if you're going to have a random to change the votes and the terms of the leadership, the president, from 6 to 5 years, you cannot just change that aspect of our Constitution without changing the corresponding parts that make it a legally expressive term in our Constitution. They are saying that the language that applies to the presidency of Liberia's term being changed from 6 to 5 years has to have the language that is expressed in the Constitution already for the term of the presidency. So instead of just saying they would change it from 6 years to 5 years, they have to use the language in the Constitution that says that the president is elected for 2 terms, each a 5-year term. Just as it says it in the Constitution now, that the president will be elected for 2 terms of 6 years each. So it doesn't make it makes it clear that these terms of 5-year term, they are not running concurrent with each other. There are 2 terms that they can run for. And that's the limitation of the terms. You can only run for 2 5-year terms. And after that, you can't run no more. So that's what the Constitution is saying. The opposition is saying, you cannot just say we change the Constitution, the president term, from 6 to 5 years, without adding the words that are in the Constitution that makes it clear and succinct that he's running only for 2 terms. He can't go for no more terms after that, just as it is expressed in the Constitution. So all of these add to why the people need to be educated. because the language of the Constitution got to match the amendment being made to the Constitution so they flow without any contradiction, without any ambiguity. So we have to understand the laws of our country are important to us because when we understand our law and its application, we know that our security is ensured because our knowledge and interest in the laws that control our lives and our livelihood. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, I think that, oh yes, that was 7 things he had. And besides those 7 things, there were other things that came out too that made them issues too. The voter roll. That voter roll has not been cleaned up. The courts did not abide by the law of the previous court to have that voter roll cleaned up. And another contention is, even though they got ECOWAS to come in to help with cleaning the roll, they excluded the political parties. So the political parties did not have a say in whatever the NEC did with ECOWAS. Secondly, they're supposed to distribute the voter roll to the different political parties so they can review it. And their agents or team can look through it to make sure that they agree with it, that the list has been modified and is fair. They haven't done that yet. The election is next week. And up to today, the people have not received the voter roll. How and when are they going to have time to review it for checks and balances, for changes and additions and subtractions? When will they have the time to do that? It hasn't been given to them yet. And this is a major thing of the parties. Our electoral process is flawed. Ab initio, in every way, is flawed. It's unlawful, it's flawed, it's disruptive, it's confusing, and it's against the Constitution of Liberia. So this is where we stand. So the parties and the social groups in society and the other political parties that are not as known as the 2 or 3 main parties have stated clearly that they're not voting, that they must boycott. All the Liberian people must not vote on this referendum. It must not vote on this referendum. You got to know the significance of your law and constitution. And this is the foundation that builds unity and progress and solidarity among us. When we honor our law and constitution and will not back down from these criminals who want to betray our country, betray our people, betray our futures, time and time and time and time again. The time of the Liberian people is now. We can end all of this. We can end all of this. We can set our destiny on the path it's supposed to be on. We can change the trajectory of our future, of our path, of our direction. And the time of the Liberian people is now. My young children, let me take a break before I get on my third point. Because I need some kind of intervention or divine to bring me back to where we need to be and get our heads on our shoulders straight.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings, but now I shine
Good to be back. Good to be back. Now let's look at my third topic. What should Liberians expect from CPP, CDC, and Liberian people? Well, as a continuation of that debate, Mr. Benani Yuri, one of the leaders of the coalition of political parties, CPP, spoke after Mr. Cummings. And he made it clear to the Liberian people that every sector of Montserrado County he traveled, it was clear to him that the majority of the Liberian people in Montserrado County overwhelmingly supported A. Darius Dillon, the light for the senatorial position of Montserrado County. Not only he has said that, many people have said that. We have heard that from many people who are challenging this election. We heard it from many of our advocates. We've seen it on TV when Darius Dillon drove through Falah's stronghold and the whole city came to a standstill. We saw it. And we know that the light is the light. The light is the light. And going into the election, Liberian people have demonstrated time and time again, that they hope that Darius Dillon is their hope. And they go into this election despite the claims and allegations and falsities and all the rumor going on about ballots being in the country. And they can't be rumors because we got pictures of those boxes that came. Amidst rumors and prospective evidence that ballot boxes were brought into the country, and claims and allegations of them being distributed to the ruling party's headquarters in the 3 electoral districts. Despite the many acts of violence that's been going on, despite the many deaths and murders and ritualistic killings in the country, Mr. Ure made it clear that if Darius Dillon didn't win this election, Liberia would be upside down. So that's a threat from one party within the coalition. The coalition acquiesced it by their silence. Alec Cummings, although he read the speech, didn't contradict Benani Ure as he called on Liberians to rise up if Darius Dillon doesn't win. So here we are. We're between a rock and a hard place. The majority of Liberian people are of the conviction that this election will be flawed, will be unlawful, and the attempts to change it are being laid down. So how would this impact the Liberian people? And not only the Benani Ure said that, the head of the Rainbow Coalition came out and said he stood with Benani Ure on that point. Boycott the referendum. Dillon must win. If Dillon doesn't win, they got to be stealing. Because the evidence is clear that the government is going above and beyond itself to ensure that it wins this election with Falah. There's evidence that there's no money in the country again. And yet these people dishing out large catches of money and making promises to pay people tuition. You know how much it is to pay a school tuition? To buy children uniform? Where are they getting all this money? Where are these people getting all this money during our election campaign when our country has no money? When our country has no money. Where are these people of the fucking preacher regime getting all this money from to make all these promises? So my Liberian children, what can we expect from these political parties and the citizens of Liberia regarding the 12/8/20 election referendum? What can we expect? One, we can expect a lot of confusion and commotion. Two, it might end up in violence and people being maimed, hurt, or killed. The Liberian people cannot be aware of the massive unlawfulness, of the massive disruption in the process of our election, in the process of its fairness, in the process of its continuity under the laws of Liberia, and remain silent. Everybody in Liberia know that this government is corrupt. Everybody know that this government has problems within itself. Now look at the CDC right in there. Jewel Howard Taylor fighting with the vice president. She wants to vote for a candidate from the coalition of patriots. That's the opposition. She wants to vote for the chairman, the acting chairman, Dumo. And George Weah is telling her, no, our party is voting for Fala in Bon County. Not the same Fala, is another Fala from Bon County. The vice president's own party and party members are on the fences. You have Melvin, one of the people who have supported, what his name, Melvin, what? I got his name here. You have this Melvin man. Let me find your name here. Melvin Cole. You got this Melvin Cole who has been like Jewel's son since she became senator for Bon County. He has remained with her. He was her assistant, stood with her. Now he himself had broken ranks with her. He's the favorite of George Weah now because he told her she cannot break from the ranks of the party to go support an opposition. Weah is pissed off with her and had clearly stated that she can't go away from the party, the hands that are feeding her, because she's being fed by the party. And she Weah girlfriend, secret lover. That cannot be hidden. When our people, our leaders are immoral and sleep in bed with each other, actually, we have a man and his wife running, a man and his lover running our country. And he's demonstrating to her that our fuss in the bedroom has come to the public. Now she's shamed for all what she had done, a disgusting Liberian woman. Now she got to face the challenges and the plight of her own actions. Our country is going down the tube fast. Our leaders have no moral compass. Our leaders are the same disgusting people in our society that bringing it down time and time again. Which way, Liberian people? Which way? What can we expect from George Weah if he is to stay in power for another 3 years? What do we expect from Alec Tyler, a member of the CDC coalition, a former Speaker of the House of Liberia who stole so much, who stole. Now these are the same people ruling Liberia time and time again. My Liberian children, what can we expect this 12/8/2020 election and referendum period in Liberia? My head is swelling. I look to the Lord because my heart with Liberian people is totally broken. The time of the Liberian people is now. Aluta! Continua. Lieutenant Commander J.R. Galpohkpa Chesson of the West African Republic of Liberia's class is done. My children, we are in a state of crisis. Our country is on the brink of self-destruction. The rogues, the warlord, the criminal, the deceitful people are still our leaders, and our country will never progress and advance with their tribalistic, divisive, and evil plans and tendencies towards the leadership of the West African Republic of Liberia. Have a good day.